Hello, everyone. Happy Memorial Day. I'm Grant Cohn, joined by Botond, as always, Monday morning. Today, our show is called Are the 49ers Playoff Bound? And that's what the focus of our show is going to be primarily. But first, we're going to start with the quarterbacks. We're going to start with Trey Lance. Just want to say hello to Botond first. How you doing, man? You looking like you're in a good mood.
Hey, everyone. Yeah. I'm feeling myself great. I've never felt this great before in the past few years. Maybe the first time that I can remember when I was that kind of happy that I am right now was when I engaged my girlfriend, who is now my fiance. And yeah, it's great here so far for me.
Well, you'll have something to share with us eventually down the line, but until then, we'll just have to know that things are going good. Let's look ahead to next season for the 49ers. Before we talk about whether we think they're going to be playoff bound, let's talk about their quarterbacks, because I don't think you can get to that discussion before even discussing who's going to be playing quarterback. So Botan sent me a list of topics. This was the first one on the list. Why Trey Lance won't start next season. Where are you going with this one, Botan?
Well, first of all, we all know that I was really happy when we drafted him. I did think that he has the greatest upside from these prospects who were available for the 49ers during the draft. And pretty sure that he will be great with the right coaching. I think that that will happen, but I'm not pretty sure that this year is the year when he gets into the starting position. And it's mainly because he has a lot of things to learn. I mean, he didn't have so much experience in college football. And as you said before, when you were on the OTAs, he has some problems with his throwing motion while he is throwing deep balls or mid-deep balls. And I think those are things that he must develop in the next few months. That's why I don't think that we will start him. And there's Jimmy Garoppolo, who is not a great or a franchise quarterback, but he proved himself that with the right playbook, he can lead this team into the playoffs.
Yeah, I think I've been talking a lot about Trey Lance's mechanics since OTA started. But even if he didn't have a mechanical issue, I don't think he would start this season. A lot of people say, let him learn on the job. I think that's a case-by-case basis, and it more has to do with the team than the player. If, like people say, Josh Allen, like he started right away, look at him now. He was in the Bills. The Bills stunk. They had a first-year head coach when they drafted him. There were no expectations. He could learn on the job. The Niners aren't in that position. They're in year 5. There's intense pressure for them to win. Kyle in particular, there's a lot of veterans on the team. They see themselves as a Super Bowl roster. So if you see yourself as a Super Bowl roster, you can't really give it to a rookie. Really. Because no one has ever won it. Ever.
Yeah, there were no rookies who can win the Super Bowl.
Ever. And this guy would be not just the only rookie, but the youngest quarterback ever to win a Super Bowl. So, I mean, why are you trying to break records?
Well, I know that there are some fans who are thinking of him as an instant starter who can lead this franchise into victorious season, into being the next New England Patriots victory-wise. But to be honest, he needs time, as Tom Brady needed time when he was the quarterback of the New England Patriots. I don't see Kyle Shanahan as great as Bill Belichick was at the time and as he is right now, because I do think that Bill is a smarter, more experienced, and a better head coach than Kyle Shanahan is. And I do think that if they drafted Trey Lance, they may have started him this season, but it's only because they need those wins so much, and because they let Tom Brady go, and they just need a new guy to be the face of the franchise, which they didn't found until this moment. So, but in the 49ers, we all know that Kyle's playbook is really hard to learn. So everybody said that it's quite complicated. And Kyle is a guy who always wants perfection. And if you just can't do his plays perfectly, then you will be blamed for the losses and other things like that. So, and I think that they all know that there's a huge pressure right now on Trey Lance, because this team gave up so many picks for him that they don't want to risk his mental state right now, because in the past year, we saw that mentally 49ers players are just not strong enough, I think.
I mean, I just can't think of the last Super Bowl team that turned its roster over to a rookie quarterback. And you think, well, it's a good thing for the quarterback. Most rookies go into bad situations, but most rookies also go into situations with no expectations, and they're allowed to learn on the job and be, inconsistent. Go back and look at Josh Allen's numbers as a rookie; they were not good. If he had been on a Super Bowl roster and replaced a quarterback who was 29, who had a winning record and good numbers, it would have been scandalous. He would have taken a lot of criticism. The team would have taken a lot of criticism, and they might have had to bench him. Who knows? So I just don't think that. I mean, can you think of a quarterback who got to just take over a Super Bowl team? But hey, go get him, man. I mean, Roethlisberger. But who do they have before him? Tommy Maddox. I mean, that was way back. I mean, Tommy Maddox wasn't good. He was hurt. He was old. If I remember correctly, it's not like they had a lot of choices. Who else do they have? Charlie Batch. Who do they have in Pittsburgh? I don't think they had. I mean, they had Roethlisberger, so they gave it to him, and he was like almost 24 as a rookie, I think, not 21. So
yeah, Trey is so young.
So young.
My experience tells me, guys in his age that just doesn't know how to handle these situations, like being on a playoff bound or a Super Bowl contender team, and one failure can just ruin their career.
Yeah, and there's so much pressure on him. I mean, look at what happened to Nick Mullins last year for letting the team down because they had such a good roster. It seems to me if you sit him for a year, it allows him to fix his mechanics, learn the offense, which everyone says takes 2 years to learn, or a full year. Yep. And it allows him to, when he plays in 2022, be really good. Not have to have growing pains, just be really good as soon as he plays. That's the way it seems this is going to happen, unless Jimmy gets hurt, and then you just got to play Trey Lance anyway and see, hey, we're not a Super Bowl team anymore. Jimmy's out. Let's let Trey Lance learn. In which case, then you can do it if the injuries happen again.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Real quick, people are saying that the stream starts midstream and you don't get to hear the first few seconds. Sorry about. I mean, I'm under the impression when you watch the recording afterwards, everything there. But I guess if you're watching it live, you missed the first 30 seconds. Maybe that's why people have that little cheesy 30-second countdown starter thing. I'll try that in the future. I'll think about that. The thing where it goes like, ding, 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 ding. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Anyway, that was a really good impression of it. Sorry about it. Okay, so that's why Trey Lance won't start. Why will Jimmy Garoppolo start this season, in your opinion?
Well, there's two things. First of all, we have discussed in the past few minutes that Trey Lance just needs time to develop himself into a pro quarterback in the NFL. But the other thing is that Jimmy was so bad decision as a contract for the 49ers. So he got tons of money. He just didn't give anything back to the franchise. And I think that if we want to get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo, we need a year to prove other teams that he is worth at least a second-round pick. And what I do think right now is any starter quarterback gets hurt next season in a playoff contending team, I think that's the time when the 49ers will try to trade Jimmy Garoppolo if he performs well. Because what every other team knows is that Jimmy can be good. Jimmy can lead the team into the playoffs. I'm not sure, and I'm pretty sure that he is not capable of leading a team into the Super Bowl. But that's for sure that he can just throw a team into the playoffs. And we all know that playoffs in the NFL are the time when everything can happen, when underdogs can beat the greatest teams in the NFL. That's why I think that if contender QB just injures himself during the regular season, the 49ers will try to trade Jimmy for that team when they can get a great compensation for him. We saw when Nick Foles got traded, they got a first rounder, if I remember, well, just a second rounder for him. And we all know that Nick Foles is okay. He's a Super Bowl quarterback, but he's not so great as some of the teams watched him in the past. So that's why I think that the 49ers will try to trade Jimmy during the season. That's why they need Jimmy to perform. And I'm pretty happy that you said before that Jimmy was great during the training camp, during the OTAs.
Yeah, that's all hell's breaking loose outside my apartment. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Sorry about that. So
So
here's the thing about with Jimmy, real quick. Let me say with Jimmy, it seems like he still has more value to the 49ers than to other teams
yeah,
because of the simple fact that, like, again, they see themselves as a Super Bowl team. He took them there. So if you get rid of him, you could say, well, Andy Dalton's just as good as Jimmy Garoppolo. Yeah, but you don't know that Andy Dalton can take you to the Super Bowl. Andy Dalton's never won a playoff game. Jimmy Garoppolo has, even if he wasn't great in any of the playoff games he won, you still know that with this team and that quarterback, it has worked before. So I still think it's tough for the 49ers to move on until they have a clear-cut replacement. Even if someone offered the 49ers a first-round pick for Jimmy Garoppolo, yeah, you take it, but then you're just throwing away the season. Well, so now the season is all about a 21-year-old quarterback's development, and you're not really contenders, and you have all these guys on one-year deals. I still think that Jimmy Garoppolo has value to them until he gets hurt again. If he gets hurt again, it's like, all right, well, okay, you can't play football anymore. I guess you're not a football player. But for now, it allows them to develop Trey Lance the right way, which is not really the most important thing, but it allows them to consider themselves contenders. As soon as he's out the door, they can't really say that they're contenders anymore. You got a rookie quarterback. You got Nate Sudfeld. You got Josh Rosen. Maybe next year. Maybe next year, as soon as Jimmy Garoppolo leaves.
I think this is the topic when I can't agree with you because
Okay.
After about 6 or 8 weeks, after some learning, after some developing, I'm pretty sure that Trey Lance can take the driver's seat of this team and become a starter in the NFL. Maybe a simpler one of our current playbook, maybe a special playbook for him only with a lot of option plays and other things like that. But I think that he can take the driver's seat after week 6 or week 8. That's a possibility, and that's why I think that maybe this team with him is not a Super Bowl contender, but with him after those 8 weeks, this team can be a playoff contender, and that's a thing for the 49ers. That's a winning record for Kyle Shanahan, which is most important right now for him, I think. While he can prove himself that he developed a guy to be an NFL starter almost instantly. And that's a thing that he couldn't say about himself in the past few years. So it's a win-win situation.
Kyle Sullivan says Jimmy will have his best year yet. Why? He's playing for his career. Sit Trey and foster his excellence. And he's got motivation to play well, but is he durable? What happens when he gets hit in the leg? How tough is he? Those are questions that I guess have to do with motivation. Will Craig says, I think Jimmy is going to play like an all-star this year simply to shove it in the face of the uppers and fan base. Better O-line mean no injury. Okay. Well, the guy who got him hurt last year was Laken Tomlinson. He's still there. I don't know. The guy who got Nick Mullins hurt was Mike McGlinchey. He's still there. I'm not necessarily sold that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to have a dynamite year, but he might. He could have a 2019 year. So we've already discussed the best case for trading Jimmy Garoppolo. In your case, you think that's midseason?
Yeah, I think that's midseason.
All right, let's talk about the Niners and whether they're playoff bound. In your opinion, are they?
Yeah.
Why?
After the schedule, that's so easy for this team. I think it's the weakest schedule in the past few years. A lot of talent just came back from injuries. I think there are improvements on the offensive side of the ball. There are improvements on the defensive side of the ball. I don't think that this team will miss Richard Sherman as much as some people think they will miss him. And Jimmy is motivated, and that's a thing which we haven't seen since he arrived to San Francisco. And we all know that how he can play when he is motivated. So, and Kyle is motivated as well. We discussed it before. Why? Because he needs to get rid of Jimmy on the highest value possible. So I think this team will achieve great things during the season. I'm not saying that they will be Super Bowl contenders, but they must be playoff bound right now, I think. And I'm happy that I can say that, because last year was the season when I couldn't say that, and I was quite angry because of that.
Yeah. No, I think they should be as well. I mean, even if Jimmy Garoppolo gets hurt, Trey Lance has a good enough team around him that he should be able to go to the playoffs. Look at the division. You mentioned the schedule. It is easy. The division. everyone looks at the Rams like they're great. They got Matthew Stafford. That's a big upgrade. They lost a lot of stuff. They lost a bunch of players on defense. They lost a bunch of coaches. And they have, I want to say, almost $40 million, $40 million in dead cap space.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a really good roster. I think it's Jalen Ramsey, Matthew Stafford, Aaron Donald, Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods. That's it. That's their team. So, the Niners are better than them, no matter who their quarterback is. And then the Cardinals, maybe. I don't know. I mean, what have they ever proven? And then the Seahawks are always the Seahawks. Seahawks are really tough because Pete Carroll's a hell of a head coach, and Russell Wilson's a Hall of Fame quarterback. Takes you pretty far, but the Niners always play them well. I mean, they almost beat them with C.J. Beathard last year. So, yeah, I think they do match up. I think this division isn't as good as people think. I mean, I think the Rams are extremely overrated.
If I'm looking at a division right now, I must say that maybe this division right now is the weakest since years. So Cardinals may be a surprise.
I mean, the Seahawks are slowly on the way down. Yeah. They're not getting better.
Yeah, the Seahawks is a one-man team in the past few years. That's what I think of. If there wasn't Russell Wilson, they just I'm sorry just to say that, but they will suck without.
And their ability to protect him gets worse and worse every year.
Yeah,
I don't know. Their offensive line is terrible, and he's not as quick as he used to be. And now he's starting to complain. It's almost like looking like an Aaron Rodgers situation where he's getting upset with ownership. I don't know about that team. The Niners certainly could win this division. I just don't know if they're going to win a playoff game. I mean, I think it's that, to me, that all depends on Jimmy. I mean, Trey Lance, if he has to play this year, that's great experience. But the last 21-year-old quarterback I can remember in the playoffs was Lamar Jackson, and he was terrible. And he's a great quarterback. He came back the next year great. But his first year, when in the playoffs, he looked 21. How could you blame him? So I think it really depends on Jimmy how far this team goes. I think he's a very important person this year. He's not going to be on the team next year, but this year I think he's very important. Yeah. So I think he's the X factor.
Yeah, but there's a factor as well because this team performed in the playoffs without Jimmy, without a passing game.
It did.
Just because of Brandon Ayuk and all those fantastic running backs. And running back position just got an upgrade after the draft. That's why I think that with or without Jimmy, this team is playoff bound. He may play poor sometimes this season.
Josh Rosen takes the team to the playoffs.
Yeah, that's always a factor with Jimmy that he plays poor sometimes. But somehow I got the feeling that this team is playoff bound, at least for a divisional championship.
I think so too. That's
what I'm thinking right now.
All right, so when this team does make it to the playoffs, what are we calling this 2021 season? Last year was the revenge tour. What's this year?
Rehab tour.
The rehab tour. The rehabilitation tour. I like that.
Yeah, because after that revenge tour, after most of the players and journalists and other people said that 2020 is going to be the revenge tour, I think that this team got injured, not just they are not just injured by their body, but somehow mentally. I think that right now they have so much things to prove to anybody else, and if they are failing this season, nobody will say that the 49ers are a good team for the next season. I think there's so much things that they have to do this season better than they did last season. They cannot blame right now, hopefully not in the future, but on the injuries that they had. So if they can stay healthy for most of the season, I think that there should be nothing else in their mind just to make it to the playoffs, to prove everybody else that they were wrong about them last season. And please guys, don't ever say revenge tour again for a season, even after a Super Bowl loss, because it's it's kind of hacks for this team, I think.
The rehabilitation tour only if they stay healthy, though. If they don't stay healthy, if Jimmy Garoppolo gets hurt early on, if Nick Bosa gets hurt again, Deebo Samuel gets hurt again, they should call it the Up in Smoke tour. I don't know. When I was a kid, the big tour, Eminem, Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg was the Up in Smoke tour in like 1999. So if the Niners have another injury plague season, yeah, they're going to have to, that whole Super Bowl window, Jimmy Garoppolo's career in the 49ers, up in smoke. His career in general could be up in smoke. So it's one or two ways we could go here.
Yeah, because last season the Hungarian fans and I was pulling the 49ers, the San Francisco 49 wheelchairs. I think this season will be way better. I hope this season will be way better.
Niners hurt Jimmy with the short pass game to when it's time to throw deep ball, it's inaccurate, a la the Super Bowl. Niners need more deep plays for Jimmy, in my opinion. There's something to that. I mean, you need to practice this in practice, but I watch them in practice. They don't practice deep passes in practice. And I don't see how you get better at throwing deep passes unless you're practicing with your specific receivers all the time. Because you're not throwing to a stationary target. You can't just put a bucket downfield and say, hit it. I've seen coaches do that too. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. You never throw to a stationary target 50 yards down the field. He's moving. You need practice throwing to a moving target. And each person runs differently. Yeah, you need to practice this, and it's not something that the Niners have really spent a lot of time on task with. I think that's a good point.
Yeah, but the other part of that is that after that injury, the first leg injury of Jimmy, after that, somehow his footwork just changed, and he made those deep moves poorly. I think
to be fair to Kyle, that's true. He doesn't do that well.
Yeah, so that's why I think, because when we signed Jimmy, his footwork was almost flawless, but right now is kind of ruined by those injuries. I hope that he fixed that, or doctors fixed that for this season, because if they did, I think the balls will be way better than they were last season.
Nah. Yeah, I remember in 2017 when Shanahan first got here and Hoyer was the quarterback. He threw deep every day in practice, and I was impressed. Hoyer's a really good practice quarterback. When there's no pass rush, that guy is Tom Brady, and he every day would just uncork one 50 yards down the field, and that was back when Marquise Goodwin was in a contract year and he was fighting for money. He would go up and get it. So it was impressive. I know that Kyle Shanahan can do it. I think if he thinks it's part of your skill set as a quarterback, he'll call it. The fact that he doesn't call it, and the fact that all the wide receivers are yards after the catch specialists, shows you what Kyle thinks of Jimmy Garoppolo's deep ball. End of story. I mean, also the fact that he never calls passes for Deebo Samuel and George Kittle in the end zone shows you what he thinks of their hand-eye coordination. Those guys are yak specialists in a pure sense to Kyle Shanahan. Grant, send us $5 to Botond to buy his new puppy a toy. Great to see you are over the dog loss with a puppy. Jimmy needs to learn to throw away. All right, man. I owe you $5. This is from Sean. I'll cash app you.
Thank you, mate. I have a dog, actually. I think that you saw my dog before live show.
Yeah.
Before, maybe in December or something like that. So we have a dog. I like him. I love him, to be honest. But he's 10 years old. And the doctor says that he will be here for a long time from now. So I'm quite happy with that. He's kind of small. He's like a puppy, but thank you.
Okay, a couple more topics. Who will be the star of the offense this season? Coming into last year, if I asked you this question, you'd say Kittle. Easy. But Kittle was not the star of the offense last year. Kittle missed half the season. Who was the star of the offense last season?
Brandon Ayuk.
Trent Williams. One of those. I mean, something like that. So in your best projection here, who's going to be the star of the offense in 2021?
Well, I came up with this topic because I had a dream. I'm not that kind of guy who is always believing his dreams, but somehow I got the feeling since that Deebo Samuel will have a season next season, which will be a season that people will talk about it for about a decade or more. So somehow I got this feeling that Deebo is going to be the star of the offense if he can stay healthy. But I think that the health issue is something which is true for every player this offense has right now, because almost everybody has an injury history, and that's why
the thing.
I'm scared saying that Deebo Samuel will be the real star on the offense next season. But somehow I got this feeling that he will be. So that's why I'm thinking of him. I'm thinking that he will get about 2,000 all-purpose
Oh,
yards
wow.
next season.
Wow. Yeah, that would definitely make him the guy. Now I'm going to say I don't believe in his ability to stay healthy, but then I'm going to contradict myself and pick someone else who gets hurt a lot. So that's a fair call. I'm not going to go with Debo, but it's a good call. I'm going to go with Raheem Mostert. He was my guy last year. I'm sticking with him. He got hurt last year. I still think he's relatively fresh. I think they probably needed him a little too much last year. I mean, Jerick McKinnon gave him nothing. Tevin Coleman gave him nothing. And they didn't figure out what they had with Jeff Wilson Jr. until a little bit later on in the season. I think they were leaning on Mostert a little too much. This year they know they can't. They'll have him in a rotation with Sermon and Coleman, with like 2 or 3 other guys. And they won't give him more than 10 or 11 carries a game. But he's going to average 6 yards a carry. He always averages 5 or 6 yards a carry. And I think if they keep him fresh, he'll be their best running back. He'll be their most productive running back. And he'll be the guy with the home runs every couple of weeks. So I'm going to say that I think this team's going to run the ball. They're going to have a real focus on it. It's kind of been the theme of the offseason with the running backs and the offensive linemen. And, especially if Trey Lance takes over midseason, a lot of running the ball. Raheem Mostert. Not that he's going to carry the ball 200 times. I just think he's going to average 6 yards a carry like he normally does.
Well, if we are going to start at some point of the season with Trey Lance, I'm pretty sure that, and that's why I say Debo, because Kyle just, at that point, Trey Lance will still need some help from the teammates. And I think that right now on this team, Debo Samuel is the greatest gadget player. So that's why I'm thinking of him. So
yeah, I think as long as Jimmy Garoppolo is the starter, the whole offense goes through Debo. I mean, Jimmy doesn't throw very far, and so that means Debo's his best friend. If you could tell me that Debo Samuel wouldn't pull his hamstring this year, I'd be like, yeah, I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. But I don't know. That hamstring thing seems to be something that's been following him around since college. So we'll see. It's a good call though. It could definitely be Debo. I'm just going to stick with Raheem Mostert because he's my favorite player. Same question for the defense going into last year. Well, the question is, who will be the star of the defense in 2021? Going into 2020, we would have said what? Bosa.
No, I wrote an article about that.
Going into last year, I'm saying we would have said Bosa most likely. Now, but it was Warner. It was Warner. Warner stepped up. Warner played all 16 games. Warner was the leader. So you can't always predict these things. So if you want to say Warner, that's fair. If you want to say someone else, that's fair. Who do you think is going to be in 2021?
It's quite hard.
Yeah.
But I get the feeling that it's going to be Jason Verrett.
Interesting. Make the case for him.
Wow. Verrett came back great to be a starting cornerback for the 49ers. I think that right now he is the number one cornerback for this team. And I think of that because he's versatile, he's explosive, he's a smart guy. And last season he was just great, the greatest quarterback that we had. But I think right now he is in a much greater shape. He just came back with last season, and this season, if he will stay healthy, I think that this season can change the perspective everybody has about Jason Verrett. I think that he can just be the next ball hawk for this 49er defense.
I like it. Again, my only question with Verrett is he going to stay healthy? But if he does, hell yeah. I'm gonna name someone else. I'm trying to be unexpected here. I'm not gonna say Bosa. I don't think he's gonna play enough to be the star of the defense. It could be Warner, but I'm gonna go with someone unexpected because it usually is someone unexpected. I'm gonna go with Samson Ebukam. Because again, I don't think Nick Bosa you're gonna get a ton from him this year. You'll get some, but I don't know how much he's gonna play. I don't expect anything from D Ford. Eric Armstead isn't going to be playing DN. They're going to need – Ebukam is going to play a lot. I mean, if he's healthy, he's going to play a lot. And if you saw what Kerry Hyder did in this team last year, I think Ebukam is better than Hyder. And I think Ebukam is the talent on this team with Armstead, Kinlaw, and all these guys on the line to get 9-10 sacks. Ebukam.
Well, my only concern about Samson Ebukam is I think of him as a situational player for this defense. I'm not necessarily thinking that he will shine against run-heavy teams. So that's why I don't think of him as the next star. But everything can happen. It's the NFL. We have seen some great short stories during the past few years.
I think they'll probably use him the way they used D Ford a couple of years ago. So he'll get all the pass rush snaps. He probably won't play too much D end on first and 10. He might play linebacker, but he'll be on in all the passing situations. I think he'll have some big numbers, whether or not he plays 80% of the snaps.
Well, I'm not sure if he is going to play more than 60% of the snaps next season, but
he'll play the money snaps. Yeah. Mike Shank says, what will we need to give up to get Stephon Gilmore if we don't get Julio Jones? Probably a second round pick. Probably the same pick that you'd be offering Julio Jones. Maybe that's the move if they don't get Julio. Wesley says Mostert can have a top 5 all-time season by a running back. I honestly believe he can blow out the single-season record for yards by a running back while healthy. Here's the thing. I think the comparison for Raheem Mostert is Chris Johnson, the guy who was super fast. He didn't last too long, but Chris Johnson did run for 2,000 yards in the season. I think Mostert can do it. He'll need a little luck, and he probably can't do it twice. But I'm with you, Wesley. I mean, this guy has a lot of that Chris Johnson in him, and Johnson did it once, so why not Mostert? Anyway, those are our topics today, Botan. That's it. Botan?
Sounds great.
Man.
I think they were short topics, but they were interesting topics.
To the point. I think so, too. And it's a little bit of a lull right now, a little bit of a cucumber season with the Niners, but practice on Wednesday. We'll have more to talk about, and we'll be back next week.
Yeah, and I have another announcement to make. I will travel to the US in October. So if anybody wants to catch up, I will be there. I will be watching 49ers games there. So see you guys.
All right, let's catch up, man.
Yeah.
Looking forward to meeting you.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone. I'll be back at 12 with Vish. See you in an hour and a half.